Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu salam wa rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Kitab Sharh Ajaib al-Qalb, The Marvels of the Heart. This is book 21 of Ihya al-Din, The Revival of the Religious Sciences, the Islamic Sciences, translated by Walter James Skilly. We are on page 65 and we'll try to conclude this chapter 9, before we delve into the next chapter. So we already read about the status of the Arif of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that his status is higher than 1,000, like the heart of such a Arif is better than 1,000 of those who are in a state of conformity. This is what else would be the meaning of the common folk. This is, as it is said, it is not the muqallid. You will be superior if you are true believers, true believers. وأنتم الأعلون إن كنتم مؤمنين. Now we continue reading. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will raise those who believed. And this is really so we talk about this particular verse, يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Azza wa Jal said, Allah will raise those who believed among you and those who were given knowledge by degrees. Imam Ghazali said, by those he means those who attest to belief without knowledge. Those who believed here in this verse means those who attest to belief without knowledge, and has thus discriminated between them and those who are given knowledge. Rather than discriminated, ميزهم, differentiated. Thus indicates that the name believer is applied to the blind imitator, conformer, al-muqallid, even though his attestation does not result from insight nor mystical revelation. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh, in commenting on the above verse, the phrase, those who are given knowledge, وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ دَرَجَاتٍ, he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the learned man is exalted above the believer by 700 degrees between each two, of which there is a distance equal to that between heaven and earth. And you know that Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he is the turjuman. This is not translation, this is about the interpretation, the interpreter of the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ said, most of the people of paradise are simpletons, al-bull, but the seventh heaven is for people of understanding. This hadith, the second part is, it seems that the one about the seventh heaven being dedicated for those with understanding, it is not there in any original hadith. Rather, Imam Zabidi says that it has been attributed to Ahmad bin Abil Hawari. It still does not really preclude a higher status for those who are learned and they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with not as by way of conforming to others, because conforming, you might conform to something true, but also there is the dangers of conforming, imitating people with something that is obviously not. This is why when you have someone who initiates a split schism within religion, once he has followers, and I say he because really I don't know of a woman who caused schism within religion. Once he has followers, and in many cases the schism survives, and then probably there will be schism within the schism. This is why the word Shiism is an umbrella under which you have so many three major groups: the 12th Imamites, the 7th Imamites, and the Ismailis. And then you'll have subdivisions within the Ismailis, for example, and offshoots. But the same thing happened while we still maintain the Sunnites are still the overwhelming majority of the Muslims. Probably, and it's not about being, quantitative. This is not the argument, but through and through Islam survived. Sunnite Islam survived maybe today between 85 and 90%. Allah alam. Then another hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam: the learned man is as far superior to the ordinary worshipper as I am superior to the least man of my companions. Another reading, another version: as the moon is superior to the rest of the stars. To the rest of the stars, to the rest of the planets, to the rest of the heavenly bodies, because we benefit from the light of the moon in a way that we don't benefit from the light of other planets. Now, this version narrated by Imam Tirmidhi, but rather than كفضل على أدنى رجل أصحابي, this phrase, as I'm superior to the least man of my companions, for the Tirmidhi, it's more general. كفضل على أدناكم, as I'm superior to the least one of you. على أدناكم, simply trying to be as accurate as possible. And there are other details, because when we talk about the moon, of course, we talk about the moon, when we talk about the full moon, that's when we have the most light, if you will. So by these evidences, Imam Ghazali continues, it is clear that distinction in rank among the people of paradise is in accordance with distinction in their hearts and their mystical knowledge. In in the word mystical is, of course, it is inserted. I'm trying to بحسب تفاوت قلوبهم ومعارفهم. Of course, the معرفة here is not really lip service. The معرفة here is not academic. It is that which really touches the heart. Therefore, the day of resurrection is a day of mutual disillusionment. تغابن. Since he who is deprived of the mercy of God is badly deceived and suffers a great loss. For he who is thus deprived sees high ranks above his own station, and he looks to them in the same way that a rich man who owns 10 dirhams looks to the rich man who owns the earth from east to west. Each of them is rich, but how great is the difference between the two? So how greatly he has been cheated. So how greatly has he been cheated who has lost the favor of God? To explain this, it is not, who has lost the favor of God. وللآخرة أكبر درجات وأكبر تفضيلا. The hereafter is greater in degrees and greater in distinction. Obviously, if he had made it to paradise and he does not have the same status like the one who is way above his rank, he lost that share. على من يخسر حظه من ذلك. So he already had a certain share, but he did not have a higher stake. Let me try to explain this. And sometimes, not all the time, sometimes I try to point to my student, I try to point to my students at the beginning of the semester. Let me start even with a different example so that people will understand probably a certain context. In one university meeting, it became known that a professor in the probably in one of the scientific, I know the department, but there's no need to mention it. In a department of science, at the beginning of the course, he told his students that none of them will pass. Like all of them will fail the course. That none of them will make it. And my comment was that if he is so sure that none of them will pass the course, then why not give them 0 at the beginning of the semester and just relieve them of the burden of, just enduring his nonsense, really. What I sometimes tell my students at the beginning of the course, that each one of them begins with 100%. Literally, you talk about A plus, if you will. That's how you start the semester. You did not lose any point yet. So your shortcomings, you don't deliver the paper, for example, uh, you lose points. You don't answer a question in an exam, or you answer it wrong. You lose points. But you start with 100%, and there is room for everyone in every human being in paradise if all of them had all of them chosen to be there. And there's a higher place in paradise for everyone, except that not everyone will make it. So there are those who would like to fool around. This is why the day of judgment is the day of disillusionment. Some people literally would like to go through this life and simply be entertained as they like the how did you spend the weekend, meaning like how did you entertain yourself. Chapter 10, an exposition of the testimony of divine law to the validity of the method of the mystics in gaining experiential knowledge, not through instruction nor in the ordinary way. بيان شواهد الشرع على صحة طريق أهل التصوف في اكتساب المعرفة لا من التعلم ولا من الطريق المعتاد. Know that whosoever has had even a small thing revealed to him through general inspiration. I would refrain from using the word revealed because really انكشف له شيء. Because the path of ilham, inspiration, is not really the path of revelation. And the coming into his heart from whence he knows not has learned by experience the truth of this way. Has learned by experience the truth of this way. فقد صار عارفا بصحة الطريق. He became knowledgeable of the truth validity of this path. He who has never apprehended this must nevertheless believe in it. He who has never apprehended this personally within himself, then he needs to, of course, he needs to believe in it. For the rank of mystical knowledge therein is very rarely attained. عزيزة جدا. It is attested by the proof of texts of revelation experiences and narrations. Beginning with the proofs of the proof text, there is the statement of the exalted. But those who strive for us, we shall surely guide to our ways. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Of course, again, since the those who strive for us, and the word is jahadu, and it will be silly to think that jihad is restricted. Let me put it this way: we have two words in the and that are used in the Quran in different forms. We do have jihad and we do have qital. And just think of a Venn diagram where one is jihad and one is qital. And there is an area between them that is common. And that's the only time when qital is jihad. But this means that there is an area of qital which is not jihad. Okay? Not legitimate. Targeting civilians, targeting children, targeting the elderly, targeting women, the non-combatants as we describe them, targeting places of worship. Literally, there is a prohibition against harming. Just simply, Muslims should leave monks and their monasteries in peace, and by extension, to talk about the religious space. And definitely, sometimes Muslims do cross the red line. But I can see, of course, how there's systematic destruction of churches and mosques, along with all the refugees inside, in the Gaza Strip, of course. So, one area is common, one area is qital, which is not legitimate. It's okay. And there's one area, of course, of jihad, which is not qital at all. There's no fighting in that sense. So you are striving. And this area of jihad covers every single human activity that is beneficial. Always, of course, it should be to begin with, it should be sincere for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Imam Ghazali does have another in Ihya Ulum al-Din, he who thinks that seeking knowledge, being a student, is not a form of jihad, he is lacking in his mind, in his intellect. So those who strive to protect the ecology, they are in a state of jihad. But always those who strive in medicine, those who strive to benefit humanity, always for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those who strive for us, we will surely guide to our ways. Imam Ghazali comments on this. All wisdom that appears in the heart through steadfastness in worship, apart from instruction, comes by way of mystical unveiling and general inspiration. The Prophet ﷺ said, God causes him who does what he knows to inherit the knowledge of that which he knows not. Now this is the hadith stops right here. The rest of it is seems that without any reliable source which continues and aids him in what he does not, or he does so that he comes to deserve paradise. But he who does not do what he knows goes astray in that which he knows, and is not aided in what he does so that he comes to deserve the fire. That's not really part of the hadith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a'la wa a'lam. Imam al-Iraqi does say this صدر الحديث تقدم في العلم وهذه الزيادة لم أرها. And we'll mention the next verse mentioned here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and whoever fears God, he will make for him a way out. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَل لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. And of course, وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. He will grant a prosperous issue from all difficulties and doubts. And he will cause him to know without instruction, and to be sagacious without experiment. يعلمه علما من غير تعلم ويفطنه من غير تجربة. Definitely a beautiful topic that we have just scratched the surface about the impact of being God conscientious, leading of course a moral, ethical life where you fulfill your religious duties and obligations within the framework of monotheism, always for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely open doors for you, which is really a call for a return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. in the midst of the darkness that has been created by secularism, in the sense of it's not really separation of church and state as they call it. Really, the uh, spirituality, religiosity has been reduced to uh, not only personal affairs, but really keep it very personal. And then the religious institutions in the West, they cannot really resist really the tide, the change that took place. Almost they give up one teaching after the other to remain relevant in public discourse, and this is really a dangerous path. And some Muslims already uh, they are imitating them, and you know they would like to be accepted. They would like to, the social pressure is understandable. Political pressure is understandable. Maybe even economic. You stand out, and then you need to be very, very strong. Those Muslims are already um calling themselves progressive Muslims, and immediately someone calls himself or herself progressive, they did give up something, at least one thing of the religion, at least one thing, usually many things. Suffice it for this session. Inshallah, we'll continue with this chapter, with chapter 10, inshallah, in the next session. Until then, subhanakallah wa hamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.